Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Uh, Hold on, could you repeat that again to make sure I got it on recording?
Lorem ipsum dolor sit amet. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Yep, we're good. All right. Thank you
Cool, cool, cool.
for having this interview with me. Before I start, I just want to clarify I'm going to be referring to your CA as CA and the other CA as OCA, just to clarify that.
OCA. What does that stand for out of
Other
curiosity?
other CA.
Okay, cool.
So, can you introduce yourself for the audience?
Sure. I'm Certain Sound. I've been in development behind local since Iron probably first took over, so about 3 years ago. I've done scripting, I've done modeling, pretty much all of the modeling you see in game. I was the only modeler. Um, Building in Roblox, and pretty much any other bits and bobs that have been needed for a long time. Now I'm finally the owner of the community, since I saw how it was going and really wanted to see what it could be. Because I've been my short time with the community, I've seen a lot of potential, and I wanted to see that continue and not just die out because of some bad decisions.
So, you in a way wanted to be the owner. You weren't just stepping up because no one else would.
Well, it was kind of a mix of two things. I wanted to do what I could for the community. That ended up being the owner. But it was also just kind of right place, right time in that I knew Iron and I've known him for a long time. He would trust me with this sort of thing, and be willing to step back as long as I was owner. And I knew he wouldn't be willing to sell to someone else. So it just kind of worked out that that was something I could do that I knew no one else could, you know?
Yeah. So, going on what you want to give to the community, what developments or changes do you plan on bringing to the CA?
So speaking of, I did actually push one about 30 minutes ago. Um, that included the spyglass, fixed the nighttime lighting, added the moon, like
Is
it was
that
more
in
of a minor
skirmishes?
update. No, that was in Bunker Hill.
Oh, okay. Nice. So,
Um,
yeah, go on.
we plan on focusing on trying to get smaller, more consistent updates rather than waiting forever for large updates, because of how the algorithm works in Roblox, and because we want the community to see that we're taking action consistently. So we're hoping to kind of push out updates every few days, even if they aren't quite as big, just with consistent changes like little mechanics, large requests or community requests. A lot of the ones for the next little while are more cosmetics, like optionals, rather than massive gameplay overhauls. But they're things that the community has wanted and talked to me about for a long time, even before I stepped into owner.
All right, now I'm going to change the topic a bit here, leaning more towards the drama with like the splintering. So, why did you originally make the announcement saying that you would not be able to continue with the CA just to join back a few hours later?
That was a lot of back end discussion. So what happened was me and Iron and Local had reached an agreement where Iron would step back, and Local would take over as owner and community manager, and I would be doing a lot of the work of it, and he would kind of be the name and face, and since he was doing the major development. However, me and Iron got into an argument. He broke certain terms of the agreement. We weren't going to have it. And so me and Local decided that it wasn't going to take up any more of our time or energy, gave up, and we're like, hey, since you can't keep your word, we're not willing to keep working. Um, we then, that next morning, me and Iron, without Local, worked out a more stable, like, contract agreement where I wrote up the terms and said in no uncertain terms what I expected from him going forward, and that if he broke that, we'd have more issues than just, hey, you broke my trust. It'd be, you're breaking our legal agreement. Um,
So,
that worked out. I really just wanted to do this for the community above everything else. Me and Iron don't get along on the best of days a lot of times. So
So does that mean you're still working for Iron?
No, I have majority ownership essentially.
Well, when you
While
say
Iron,
majority, like how much does that mean? Is that like 50%? Is that like 99%?
so it's 50%, but he's offered 10% to Bast, so he has 40.
Okay.
Does
Uh
that make sense?
yeah. So are you receiving any compensation for your position in the CA?
Not currently. What's happening with revenue is that all revenue currently is going towards ads back into the CA development. We want to upgrade some of the icons and other imagery, etc. So I don't plan on making any profit for quite a while. Hopefully, in the future, when the game is more profitable and stable, and we have more regular development, and we're paying off a development team, eventually it'll be profitable. But that will only ever be after any expenses for the community have come out of it. I've been doing this as a basically volunteer since I first started.
Uh
I haven't made a single dime from this game.
okay. So, let me see. Do I have it? No. Okay. Iron in Bunker Hill. This was probably a few days ago. I don't have the exact quote. Actually, hold on. Can you give me a
The
few
screenshot, I
seconds?
found it. I know what you're talking about.
Well,
It got sent to me a
you
while
said a
ago.
few things. Let me see if I
Oh, is
can.
there more? Okay.
Okay, here it is. He said, "I legit don't make any decisions. It's all on them. I'm taking a step back aside from just normally playing the game and helping moderate the game till stuff cools down." So, does this mean that Iron plans on rejoining or gaining more leadership as the situation dries down?
I don't think so. I've talked to him about it. I think he's always going to want to maintain some level of ownership, like the 40% he has now, but that is not going to translate into decision making, leadership, etc. That is never going to be his sort of spotlight again.
So, what is that 40% ownership for then, if it's not for any
Primarily
power?
for future profit, he'd hold a certain amount of revenue, and it would basically be an asset to him because in his line of work, he can show this as a portfolio of something that he invested in or owns, sort of.
Okay.
It's more
Uh,
like he's a holding company
Yeah,
more than
like
anything.
that's like his stock in the company, pretty much in the CA.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
so I do have the exact screenshot. Okay, someone asks you, or excuse me, someone asked you why you were demoting officers. Your response was simply power restructure. Can you elaborate on that further?
Sure. When I first came in, there were a lot of people who we announced the initial rule change that everything had changed and that we weren't going to be punishing people for the coup or actions during the coup, such as advertising, etc. And that has remained true. Um, but after that point, anyone that was committing admin abuse, anyone that was sabotaging servers, like you noticed, we had a lot of people get mass banned or major restructures, that sort of thing all had to be reduced. We had to get perms under control. So anyone with perms sort of above where anyone was comfortable got deranked. Many of them got re-ranked if they were trustworthy under the new HQ. Um, some didn't. I'm working personally with a couple of people to see if there are better places, perhaps in other regiments for like lieutenant or CO or those kind of things. But like I said, there was a kind of major structure change when all of HQ left. And because we want to move away from that sort of toxicity and the slurs and stuff we saw a lot in the previous group, we had to put people in with higher perms that knew what they were doing, would be willing to do moderation because that is now an important role for anyone in higher up is that they moderate people underneath them, among other things.
So you believe that those people who you decommissioned that were saying all those slurs moved to the OCA?
Yes.
Uh, and to continue
And
with
or
that,
were commit or they were actively showing behavior that wasn't fitting of personnel of their rank.
okay. So right now, anyone can be a member of OCA and the CA. but you've recently implemented a rule stating that no one in the 3rd Brigade can be a Lance Corporal or above in both groups at the same time.
So that's already
Will
been revoked.
it has? Okay.
That has already
Uh,
been revoked. That announcement was made soon after. Although, as I've told the OCA as well, there was a poll done before that was revoked, and the majority supported it within that community. And I only want to do things for the community. Currently, the only real blacklist is for high com members of the OCA. That is relevant. That's Fred, Max, Crown, those kinds of people, because we were seeing a lot of sort of sabotage efforts, and that was a necessary step we had to take.
all right. Uh, why do you keep Relevant Tyrant and Wake the Tyrant in the CA Discord server even though they are leaders of the OCA?
Because I want to remain as diplomatic as possible, and even with our blacklist, those people have not committed behaviors unbefitting of someone. They haven't broken server rules, and as soon as they would do, they will be dealt with accordingly. But since they've so far been respectful, I have no problem with them sort of seeing what we're doing. I have nothing to hide,
Yeah,
right?
so
There's
you're just
been a
treating them as normal
number of
members.
exactly. While they don't have the same rank that they once held, they are absolutely allowed to just be part of the militia and see this community because they've followed server rules. And I have no problem with them seeing announcements and things we're doing. I've got nothing to hide from the OCA. As many times as I've seen them try and sort of catch me on something or different like campaigns of this or that, um, I believe that I've been true to my word. I am following through on what I say. I'm not under control of Iron, among other things. And I think them being able to see that is just another sort of show of good faith.
Yeah, I believe they still have honored personnel in the
Yes,
CA. I'm
they
surprised
are
that they
still
still have
highly
that.
respected amongst the community. They have not done anything to warrant me removing that.
Wow, all right, I respect that. And this question is a little bit more personal, so you can not answer it if you want. But there was a message you sent saying that you were receiving threats.
Yeah.
So again, if you're uncomfortable talking about this, I understand. But were
No,
the
it's
people who
okay.
sent those threats a part of the OCA?
Yes.
Do you
Unequivocally, I've received almost none from people that are currently within the CA. I'm still receiving numbers of threats from people in the
currently?
OCA. Yes.
Do you
And I
do you care to
constantly
share?
receive reports of people that have sent like similar threats or jokes in the OCA Discord itself, even. So,
Wow. Do you care to share how many threats you've received?
do
If you're
you want it over an hour, over a
well,
day, in
well,
total? What are you
I'm
looking
just
for?
like a
It's a
number.
lot of different numbers.
It may like unique people, amount of messages would be like
It's
all
hard to
right.
tell because sometimes they make like alternate Discord accounts, and so it's hard to tell if it's the same person or multiple accounts. By number of accounts, I've received at least 57.
50. Jeez. All right.
Um, Majority of those being sexual in nature.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Uh,
It's okay.
hold on a second. My family is like moving around. I'll just give them a few minutes to reshuffle.
I I don't know if I should do this.
It's a I can okay. So I plan on posting this entire interview up, but if you don't want
Okay.
to leave me, you if you don't want to leave this part like anything in the video, you can tell me that, and I will leave that part out.
There's something I want to show you for context that I don't necessarily want published for diplomatic reasons.
Okay, you can show me that after the recording.
Oh,
I'll tell you when I've stopped recording, and then you
okay.
can show me that. Okay, so this is the last question, but I interviewed Relevant Tyrant earlier, and he had this
Hmm.
message for you. Your
Okay.
CA isn't going to last much longer at this current rate. You should just stop trying because you're just delaying the inevitable. You cannot survive very much longer. Your CA will not last this whole year, and all of your members will be flocking over to us. What do you have to say in response to that?
I wish them all the best in their new game and their progress going forward. And if they can support the community, all the better to them. I'm going to do the best I can for our community in what we want. That's all I really can say.
All right, I that's very respectable. Well, that's all the questions I have for you right now. Thank you so much for answering and allowing me to do this interview with you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being so patient. I know I kind of had to move my time around a lot.
That's okay. I understand. I mean, you're the leader of the CA now. What can I expect? Like, you're not
Long
going
as
to be
this is my
free all
only job.
day. Yeah. All right.
uh,
Yeah. So thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good day.
you too.
Bye bye.